You have a prepaid call from an inmate at the California State Prison for Presa, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using.
How you doing, bro?
Excellent, actually. I think what I most really want to address is that there's a desperate need for change.
What's your nationality?
My last name?
Oh, your nationality.
Oh, my nationality. I guess white.
Were you ever part of any gangs, groups, or organizations?
Negative.
Okay, where are you from out here in the streets?
I was arrested here in Sacramento, but not originally from California.
Okay, what do they call you, or what do you go by?
Everyone that knows me, my family, everybody calls me 3. I was the 3rd child, so I got called 3, like 1, 2, 3.
Okay, can you elaborate on your upbringing as a child, how your childhood was like?
Yeah, I grew up on a ranch, working ranch in Nevada, so I've been around animals and hard work my whole life. Went to school. I have my diploma, so pretty much normal childhood. I got caught up in using drugs and doing stuff like that as a teenager, but I wasn't beaten or abused, or I wasn't shifted around between homes. I had a stable 2 parents the whole time I was growing up, and went to school. And
okay, what are you incarcerated for, and how long is your sentence?
I have life without for murder with special circumstances.
And how long have you been incarcerated?
A little over 20 years now.
Okay, without any self-incrimination, because I don't know if you're going through any appeals and things of that nature, I'm assuming that you took it to trial and lost, yes. Correct?
Right. That's all exhausted, and you can ask me any question. If I don't feel like answering it, I won't, because I know how to not incriminate myself. But there's really nothing that I have to hide or am not trying to say in the interest of honesty. So I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay, sounds great. Can you elaborate on the events that occurred that landed you in prison?
Yeah, so there was a prostitute who was pregnant, and she was using intravenous drugs. I had just paroled from the initial reason I even went to prison in California. I shot a guy in the face, and he ran up in my house when I wasn't home, and he was threatening my girlfriend about some drug money that didn't have anything to do with me. And I felt that her life was in danger, and I shot him. So they gave me 4 years, and I was in and out a couple times on parole. This last time I was out on parole, a friend of mine asked me, and of course, when you've been locked up for a while, of course, he asked you if you'd like to meet a lady friend or whatever and have a little action. And so I was, of course, yeah. And but then I noticed, her friend tried to talk to me and tell me, she's pregnant, and I was like, so I went home. And I thought about it. I was staying with my mother at the time. She was helping me get back on my feet. And so I decided to get this woman off drugs and help her have her baby so she could have a clean pregnancy and have the baby and have someone take care of her, because nobody cared about her. That turned into a total nightmare. So she basically would get high behind my back, and I had to stay with her like 24 hours a day to make sure. And then the baby was born, and I thought, okay, if she's gonna not want to be, I have my own child, so I thought, okay, well, if I pour on the super dad attitude, and she's not gonna want that, and she'll go her own way, and then and the kid can have a good home. So the child was on we put my brother's name on the birth certificate because she had previous drug arrests and wasn't eligible for any of the prenatal vitamins or any of the WIC programs. So in order for us to really help her out, so we lied. We put my brother on the birth certificate so we could get food stamps and things for the baby. When she had the baby, she basically told me that she wasn't going anywhere, and that if I tried to make her go anywhere, she was going to tell the cops that that we were guilty of welfare fraud because we had lied on the birth certificate. And the whole time when she at first talked to me, she told me that the baby's father was in prison and that he was violent, and so I felt a kind of that protective urge. So that's one of the other reasons that caused me to want to help her. And the whole time it was a guy down the street, and he didn't even know. She didn't tell him, but his wife knew, and just a bunch of Jerry Springer drama. So I was trying to figure out ways to disconnect from her in appropriate ways, and things just went crazy. And I propositioned her one time to see if she would. She had another kid. If she would let somebody like take pictures for money or whatever, and she was like, yeah. So then I was like, okay, this chick is like, she's foul. So I hanged her in my garage. I had a little mini mock trial, and I hanged her in my garage because I thought there was no other way. Being around people that I was around, if I would have told the cops.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I would have put my own life in jeopardy because I was kind of running around with some motorcycle guys at the time, and I thought, I really felt like I didn't have any other way out of it except to basically just excise her out of the family that I brought her into. So I decided to kill her, and that's how I ended up in prison.
Okay, let me ask you this. I don't know if I missed something, but or maybe I'm getting a little bit confused. How did you feel threatened by her, and how do you feel threatened by her?
Yeah, like I said, she said if I tried to make her leave or wouldn't let her stay, that she would go to the cops because we had lied on the birth certificate, so my whole family was involved in a bit of welfare fraud because we had lied, and so I didn't want. And my mom was in her late 60s, and I didn't want my mom to get in trouble and my brother to get in trouble, all because I brought this chick in, so I felt kind of cornered, you know what I mean?
Okay, how was you able, I know you said you hung her in the garage, but how were you able to restrain her, even do that? Did you do a surprise thing on her, or did she get tortured or anything like that, or you just straight hung her?
Yeah, I just talked her into getting on the chair, and she did, and I kicked the chair out from under her, and that was the end of it.
How you managed to get the rope around her neck?
She just got on the chair and put the rope around her neck herself.
Oh, okay.
And then I kicked the chair out, and I played it off as a suicide. So at first, there was no arrest made or anything. I called 911, and I did the whole Academy Award-winning performance on the recording. And
did you get arrested? How did you get arrested?
Well, it came out that the truth that came out. My nephew had seen a videotape that was made of the hanging, and it freaked him out. And he told my brother, and my brother freaked out. And the next thing you know, everybody knew about it. And then I got raided, and they found the evidence. And although the evidence was obtained illegally, but then once they had the videotape, then it didn't matter because anything I said at that point was just BS.
Okay. Moving forward, when you first got sentenced, how you feel about it, and then when you first went to prison and hit the main line, what was your mentality?
Well, I was in shock. For the first 7 years, I was clean and sober. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke any pot. I didn't do any drugs of any kind for the first 7 years, and it took me pretty much that long to kind of adjust. I began going to a Buddhist service because it wasn't so much a religion. It was just like a meditation service and little talks, and I kind of just got in touch with myself and kind of figured out who I was, what I'd done for my life, and how I was going to make this work for me. And so, but the first 7 years were extremely difficult.
I noticed from your picture you have distinguished, if you will, tattoos and looking kind of, I don't know, to define it. Can you explain those tattoos? Did you get it in prison or what? I mean, can you elaborate on them?
Yeah, I got those in prison. I married a woman and...
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Okay, this phone's going to cut us off. Would you like me to call back when it
yes,
cuts us
sir.
off?
Can you call me back? Matter of fact, just call me back right now, and we'll start over the question on the tattoo.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right. So tattoo. So I married a woman that I met in 2000. I met her earlier, but I married her in 2009 in a by proxy marriage. I don't know if you know how that works, but someone stands in for you on the street and they get married for you in our, so we got married. She got murdered in 2013 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and so I tattooed my face as a death mask for her because she would have liked it anyway, and that's how I ended up with my face like that. I'm an Odinist though, so I've always been an Odinist. I just went to the Buddhist services to kind of get some meditation techniques and expand my understanding of myself. But I've been an Odinist for 35 years.
Okay, what exactly is Odinist? I never heard of it.
Odinists are pagans that follow the northern tradition. So, let's see, it's hard to describe to someone who doesn't. The original Germanic tribes of like Norway, Sweden, Finland, Holland, Germany, and most of France were all practitioners of a certain belief in Odin, and they had kind of a system that, and then when Christianity came around 800, well, it came a little earlier in certain parts, but it held off for the longest to 1000 AD in Denmark was the last time that paganism there really had a foothold, and then so Christianity kind of took over. But it's just it's like any other shamanistic belief, kind of similar to like Aztec or Native American, or it's it's a spiritual practice. So I've been an Odinist for about 35 years. So.
Okay, so I reckon that you ran with the wood pile, correct?
Right. Yeah, kind of out of force, but because I didn't belong to any gangs. Now, do you know what S&Y is?
Yes, that's special needs yards.
Okay, that's what ended up happening to me because I wasn't into racism and a lot of the practices that the skinheads and all them get into. So I didn't participate, and when you don't participate in certain things, it's basically if you're not one of us, you're against us, and so I got what they call put in.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So they put me in the hat. They're going to kill me. So I ended up having to go, which I liked anyway. I would, because the S&Y yards at first, when I first came over to S&Y, it was like a retirement home. It was a place where people didn't participate in gang activity, and there wasn't any violence towards the COs, and now it's a totally different place. Now it's overrun with all manner of unstructured gang activity, and it's a freaking nightmare. But so that's why I ended up where I'm at right now. So I'm on a non-affiliated yard right now at Folsom State Prison. Okay,
let me ask you this, bro. How long were you at the main line before they ordered a hit on you? And also, how did you find out that they had a hit on your head?
Because somebody told me, I had a friend who didn't want to see me get hurt, so they basically told me, and I got out of there because I.
Okay, how many years were you at the main line before you went to SNYR?
Well, I'd done my original 4 years, and then on the original case for the assault with a firearm. So I'd been in and out, and I knew some people. So when I caught this case, they were already kind of displeased with me because I killed a woman, and that's kind of taboo. So even though I had reasons, my own reasons, whatever, but so that was already got me on a bad start, and then it wasn't very long that I was in on this when I already knew that they were going to get me. So.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Okay. What do you have to say to the youngsters or the youth out here that that's troubled and involved in criminal activity?
Well, first off, the one thing that's the most important to me is that the cops really, they're not your enemy. They're not our enemy. That's kind of a false indoctrination that goes on in the street. I mean, like right now, like if somebody home invaded my mom, I would have to rely on the police to investigate the crime and to prosecute the people and bring them to justice. And so they're really not the enemy. They don't drive around looking for people of color to arrest or whatever. That's not their get down. So we get ourselves into these situations, and once you get into this situation, it is extremely difficult to extricate yourself from it. I mean, once you're in, and you keep coming back because the system is not designed for rehabilitation. It's just designed for warehousing. Even though they added the rehabilitation word to the name, it has no rehabilitation whatsoever. So if you come to prison, you have to take it upon yourself to go to these courses or go to self-help groups and to do all this stuff. And the guys who have been in for 20 years who are never going to reoffend, they're not going to go home. The guys who they let go home are the guys who don't focus on on themselves. They focus on their dates. So they're busy thinking about what they're going to do when they get out. They're getting high and they're doing all this stuff, and then when they get out, they're totally unprepared. And it's, I mean, the whole system needs to be overhauled. There's so many things that could be done with this system. Like we could be building solar panels in here for turning schools green, and we could be making biofuel. We could be doing all kinds of stuff instead of paying me 3 cents an hour to rake rocks, and then the state takes half of my pay, and I'm never going to pay off my restitution. They can actually give us meaningful jobs and make us part of the community instead of amputating us from the community. There's a whole list of things that could be done, that should be done, that need to be done. That aren't being done. But as far as what I would say to the youth on the street, I mean, there's two kinds of people in the world. There's people who are free, and there's people who are not free. And you have to make a decision. Do you want to be a free person? If you want to be a free person, you have to follow the rules. People call it the game. I'm a player. It's the game. Okay, well, games have rules, and when you break the rules, there's consequences. And if you're not prepared to pay the consequences, then you shouldn't break the rules. So it's a real cut and dried. It's real simple. I mean, if you want to be somebody, you're gonna have to go to school. You got to get an education, and you have to build a work ethic, and you have to want something. But you can't just want to do everything the easy way. You can't want to make $1 million the easy way by selling dope or doing whatever. There's no easy way that works. It just doesn't work. You have to work hard for what you want. And then this place here, and once you get in it, it's a quagmire. You can't get out. You're not getting out. You're going to get hooked up with people who are going to teach you even worse criminal techniques, and when you get out, you're going to be running around even worse people, and then it just escalates. It's just a matter of degree. So by your third term, it's over with.
I don't have any more questions for you, but do you have anything else to address or add?
No. I mean, it's just this whole system is completely flawed because, like I said, they're not rehabilitating us. And you think that these people that are going back into your community, like most of these dudes in here, I'm being prosecuted right now for another murder. That they're seeking the death penalty on me right now. So these guys that get out, they're not prepared to go out. I don't want them out in my community. I really don't, unless they're ready to go. So you think that it would be of the utmost importance for the Department of Corrections and the Police Association to make sure that people are prepared to re-enter society. And then when we leave, they amputate us, and we don't even feel like a part. So then you get these feelings of resentment and negativity towards the community. People watch TV and they see something on the news, somebody's doing something, and they hate on them. Well, why do they hate on it? Because they could be out there doing it, but instead of figuring out a way to reconnect with the community and still be a part of the community, like we could be doing something right now, like it's rainy season. I would love to be outside right now shoveling sand and making sandbags for the next time it floods, because I watch on TV and I see people that they're elderly and they have to fill these sandbags and it's difficult for them. Well, we could do that. And then when we would see it on TV, we would be like, hey, those are my sandbags, you know what I mean? And then we would feel like we did something for the community, but there's no reconnect happening. There's just an amputation. And then you spend years in prison, and then you get out, and they expect you to go reconnect. Well, you're going to reconnect with who? People, when you're gone, but they don't think about you. They don't remember you. You're lucky if you have any of your friends still write you or your family. So it's just not set up for success. It's designed for people to fail. So if they want to fail, then crime is the way to do it. I mean, that's pretty much it. If you want to spend your life in an institution, then all you have to do is not follow the rules, because that's what rules are for. Society is a system built on rules. People agree on it. You may not agree with them. I may not agree with them.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
The majority of people have voted and agreed on them. So if you don't like the system, the only way to change it is to participate in it, and that means voting. That means you have to be, you know, I mean, I listen to these guys in here and they complain about stuff, and I'm like, hey, did you ever vote when you were out there? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, then shut up, because you don't have the right to say anything. You haven't voted. You're complaining about a system that you absolutely refuse to participate in, and then you wonder why it doesn't work for you. So there needs to be a complete re-education of youth on the street. Like, most of the money that's spent on us in rehabilitation is totally wasted. It should be spent on crime prevention, and that means gang prevention, and that means youth programs, reading programs, literacy programs, you know what I mean, hot lunches. Like, I would love to give my lunch away every day for a month to kids who didn't have lunches. You know what I mean? They came around and they had a sign of paper and said, hey, you're not going to get lunch for a month. We're going to give all your lunches to a group of kids here in Sacramento area. I would do that in a minute. And there's a bunch of other people who would do it too, but they don't do stuff like that. So once we're cut off, and then that's it. And then all you get is anger and resentment, and then you're supposed to rehabilitate somehow on your own.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
And there you go, 6 seconds left. Would you like to give a shout out to your family and friends?
I'll give my shout out to the KSA for standing by me all these years and for making sure that I've been being taken well care of, and that's pretty much it.